Good afternoon. Police have arrested a 28-year-old man in connection with the murder of a 20-year-old man near UofT Scarborough campus last month.
Investigators say the suspect and victim were complete strangers, and there appears to be no clear motive for the killing. CTV's Beth McDonnell has been following the investigation and joins us live with more details. Beth.
Nathan, Toronto police say the victim is Shivank Avasthi, a 20-year-old student. While officers have arrested a man for first-degree murder, they're still looking into reasons for the student's death. Here is a look at the man police have arrested and charged. His name is Babatunde Afuwape. He is 28 years old and from Toronto. Police allege the man came to UofT Scarborough campus to kill someone, but aren't sure why he may have chosen Avasthi. And police say there is no connection between Avasthi and the accused. Avasthi was shot on December 23rd in the wooded area on campus known as the Valley. He was found around 3:30 that afternoon on Highland Creek Trail with a gunshot wound and was pronounced dead on scene. Police believe the man accused was on campus for about an hour before the shooting and are asking anyone who may have seen him or anyone who uses the trail and has information to come forward.
This was a deeply tragic case. Shivank was a third-year University of Toronto student from India. He was young, bright, and had his whole life ahead of him. Our thoughts remain with his family, friends, and classmates, and everyone affected by his loss. Based on our investigation, we do not believe that the accused and the victim were known to each other. It is our belief that this was a planned and deliberate act by the accused, and we have not yet found a motive for why Shivank was targeted.
This shooting really rattled some people on campus, and there was a lockdown at the time for several hours. Police say the man accused was arrested 5 days after the shooting on December 28th. They say he was out on parole and had some previous firearms offenses. None of these allegations have been tested in court. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. A man's been charged with murder in connection with his shooting aboard a GO bus at the Yorkdale terminal over the weekend. 40-year-old Tyrell Gibson's been charged with first-degree murder. He's accused of boarding a bus around 7 o'clock Sunday night and opening fire. The victim, who police have not yet identified, died at the scene. Investigators say Gibson was arrested a short time after the shooting. And shots were fired at a home in Richmond Hill early this morning.
It's the second time this residence has been targeted by gunfire in recent months. CTV's Mike Walker has been following the story. He joins us live now with more. Mike.
Well, Michelle and Nathan, York Regional Police say this was a targeted drive-by shooting in the early morning hours. No one lives at the home, and investigators are looking into whether there's any connection to a similar incident that happened here in November. Now, a security vehicle that was parked in the front driveway of the house was riddled with bullet holes. York Regional Police say this drive-by shooting happened just before 5 this morning when 2 or more suspects in a gray Honda SUV fired multiple shots at the home on Bryson Drive and the vehicle parked in the driveway. Police tell me a security guard was in the vehicle but was not injured. And again, this home is unoccupied. As mentioned, there was a similar drive-by shooting incident at this home back in November. People who live in this area are hesitant to speak with us on camera. One homeowner told me they heard about 3 gunshots early this morning. Many neighbors say they are rattled and can't believe this has happened again. Here's more from police.
We're going to look at all possibility. We have our firearm investigative team are in charge leading the investigations, and they will looking at if there's any connections between tonight's incidents and the incidents that happened in November. But we believe this is a target incident, so there's no threat to the public.
Now, investigators have been canvassing the area for witnesses and information. There are several surveillance cameras on the property here and neighboring homes as well, and police will be combing through that surveillance footage, hoping to identify the suspects. Reporting live in Richmond Hill, I'm Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. An investigation is ongoing after an 80-year-old woman was struck and killed by a vehicle in Scarborough. This happened around 2:30 yesterday afternoon near Kingston Road and Midland Avenue. Investigators say they believe the woman may have slipped and fallen before being struck by the vehicle, which was backing out of a driveway in the area. The woman was rushed to hospital where she later died. The 81-year-old driver left the scene but later returned. Investigators have not indicated how long the driver was gone for, but say he is cooperating with police.
Meanwhile, police are searching for a driver who left the scene of a major crash in Scarborough. It happened just before 10 near Brimley and St. Clair. Police say 4 vehicles collided in the area and one of the drivers ran from the scene. They were last spotted heading northbound on Brimley. No injuries were reported. Still to come, Prime Minister Mark Carney will be visiting China next week. We'll have more on his upcoming trip a little later in the newscast. A sinkhole which appeared late last night has snarled traffic in a West End neighborhood,
sparking a road closure in the city's Swansea neighborhood just west of Hyde Park. CTV's John Musselman is there this hour following the repair and the cleanup effort. What is happening there this hour, John?
Well, Michelle, it looks like they've made some progress here and they're ready to repair this road. We're on Windermere, just near Waller Avenue. We'll show you some video. This happened last night around 8:30. Police were called to the scene here on Windermere when a hole opened up into the road here. Now, we did speak to crews on the scene this morning. This has not affected water to any of the homes in the area. What they believe this is an issue with the sewer line that may have been damaged. So they do have crews here on scene now, a backhoe, and there's a large truck with some sand. So we're being told that they're going to fill this hole in a very short time and things should be back to normal here. But we did hear from police, though, when this happened last night, that a couple of cars did suffer damage to the rims when they hit this hole. But again, situation here almost back to normal. They're just getting ready to fill the hole. I'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, John. Home sales in the GTA fell again last month as buyers remained on the sidelines amid a lack of confidence in the economy. The Toronto Regional Real Estate Board says nearly 3,700 homes changed hands in December. That's down 9% compared to last year. The average selling price also dropped by 5% compared to 2024. The board says economic uncertainty on the GTA's housing market throughout the year saw total sales fall by 11%.
Time now for a live look at the city this afternoon, and the view is obscured a little bit. Cloudy conditions, but much calmer than yesterday. And can you feel it out there? It is so mild. A lot of that snow we got and ice melting, making for slushy conditions this afternoon. Lindsay Morrison is here with all the specifics. Lindsay.
Well, Michelle, if you think it's mild today, wait until you see what's in store before this week is finished. Today, though, absolutely different weather story than yesterday. Much calmer out there. The cloud cover sticking around, but the precipitation has moved on out. Here's a look at our current temperature, 2 degrees. There isn't much of a wind chill, at least not here in Toronto. It does feel like -2 in Hamilton and feels like -5 in the Peterborough area. Winds are pretty calm tonight, coming from a westerly direction today, I should say, and will be calm through the night tonight. Today at a glance, cloud cover sticking around, might get some sunny breaks in spots. Our forecast daytime high is 4 degrees, so that's above seasonal. The next several days are going to be warmer than normal too, maybe even double digits before this week is finished, but a little more active weather on the way as well. We'll take you through the weekend forecast coming up. For now, though, Nathan, going to send it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Toronto is getting a third power transmission line to serve the city's growing needs, with existing lines approaching capacity. This new line will run under the water of Lake Ontario, roughly from the Darlington Nuclear Station to the Portlands. Once in operation, it will carry enough power for 900,000 homes. The price tag's an estimated $1.5 billion. Ontario's electricity operator says this was the most cost-effective option and avoids expensive outages from above-ground transmission.
This specific issue in Toronto alone has cost up to $200 million in lost productivity. So we can do better. And that's why we believe the underwater cable will deliver more capacity than any other option brought forth. It will meet the system needs well beyond 2044, regardless of the need for additional costly upgrades and expansions.
Construction on the underwater line could take as long as a decade. The province's goal is to have it up and running by 2037. A teenage boy in Nova Scotia has died after being attacked by 3 dogs over the weekend.
And the boy died in hospital yesterday. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth reports.
This quiet, rural Nova Scotia community is in shock, reeling from this tragedy. The 13-year-old boy who was attacked by 3 large dogs died. The attack happened on this road on Saturday when the boy was riding his bike. Police, fire, and emergency health services crews responded to this area just after 5 p.m. late Saturday afternoon. The boy was then airlifted to hospital in Halifax. The 3 dogs were all euthanized by a veterinarian. The teen was in the 8th grade at Shelburne Regional High School. In a statement, the Tri-County Regional Center for Education said supports are in place at Shelburne Regional High and neighboring schools today and in the days ahead, including psychologists and counselors. In a separate statement, the local municipality added, "We extend our most sincere condolences to his family, friends, classmates, and all who are grieving this unimaginable loss." The RCMP said they will not comment further until this investigation is completed. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Welshtown, Nova Scotia.
Prime Minister Mark Carney will be heading to China next week. Carney recently returned from a meeting in Paris discussing a possible peace deal in Ukraine. The Prime Minister's office says he will travel to China from January 13th to the 17th. They say the meeting is meant to elevate engagement on trade, energy, agriculture, and international security. It will mark the first visit to China by a Canadian Prime Minister since 2017.
The U.S. Secretary of State says he'll be meeting with representatives of Greenland and Denmark next week amid escalating threats from America about annexing the Danish territory. When asked today about the U.S. use of military force, Marco Rubio said any U.S. president retains that option if there's a national security threat to the United States. But Rubio insisted he would prefer to settle issues in other ways. Meanwhile, a senior White House official is challenging Denmark's claim to the island.
The real question is, by what right does Denmark assert control over Greenland? What is the basis of their territorial claim? What is their basis of having Greenland as a colony of Denmark?
The call comes after the White House issued a statement saying the president and his team are discussing a range of options, adding utilizing the U.S. military is always an option. Denmark has warned that a U.S. attack on Greenland will mean the end of NATO. The leaders of France, Germany, Italy, Poland, and the U.K. released a joint letter outlining their support for Greenland. France said today it's working with partners on a plan about how to respond if the United States acts on its threat to take over Greenland.
The future of Greenland and Denmark are decided solely by the people of Denmark. In Greenland, we know that.
Prime Minister Mark Carney also pushed back against the U.S. threat, saying Canada will always support Denmark's sovereignty. In another show of support, Canada will open a consulate in Greenland next month. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand and Governor General Mary Simon are expected to attend the opening.
U.S. officials say American forces have boarded a sanctioned oil tanker linked to Venezuela in the North Atlantic after pursuing it for weeks. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump says the South American nation will turn over millions of barrels of oil to the United States. Venezuela is home to the world's largest oil reserves, but it has struggled to take advantage of that due to poor infrastructure, mismanagement, and U.S. sanctions. Representatives from U.S. oil companies are expected to meet with Trump this week. Chevron is currently the only U.S. firm operating in Venezuela. Some U.S. senators are pushing to see that change.
What will happen if that actually takes place is that you will start seeing the people of Venezuela benefit from the energy industry instead of having the folks that they're in league with in China and Russia.
CTV's Scott Hurst has been following this story. He joins us live now with the latest. Scott, let's begin with the new developments. We're learning the U.S. military has seized a Russian-flagged oil tanker linked to Venezuela. What more is known here?
Michelle, this appears to be the culmination of a 2-week-long pursuit of this vessel. The seizure taking place, according to U.S. officials, in the North Atlantic off the coast of Iceland. The U.S. seizing the Russian-flagged oil tanker linked to Venezuela after after tracking it across the Atlantic. That information coming from the U.S. European Command. The operation launched earlier today across the Atlantic and as part of the U.S. blockade of Venezuelan oil exports. We also heard from U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem saying the U.S. seized another vessel in the Caribbean early this morning. This appears, Michelle, just to be the latest confrontation since the capture of ousted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro over the weekend. Now, in the wake of the latest raid and the seizure of the two vessels, the Trump administration says it'll continue to pursue and seize sanctioned vessels connected to Venezuela, Michelle.
Well, let's zone in on the oil industry and the potential impacts here. What could it mean for oil and gas, specifically in Canada?
Well, first, let's focus on the new information, and you mentioned it in the lead up to me where the U.S. says Venezuela will, in fact, provide some 30 to 50 million barrels of oil to the U.S., and U.S. President Donald Trump says he's planning to meet with top American oil executives later this week on Friday to discuss plans to open more access to Venezuela's vast but struggling oil industry. Now, in the wake of the raid and the focus from the U.S. president on Venezuelan oil, that has ramped up the pressure and turned up the heat on Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney to ensure Canadian oil remains competitive in the wake of the dramatic U.S. operation in Venezuela. Here's more from an industry executive on the potential mid to long-term impact on the Canadian oil industry with the renewed focus by the U.S. on Venezuelan oil.
So while there's certainly potential to change the kind of medium to long-term oil market, it's still a less favorable place to do business in Canada. It's tough to see that Canada really being meaningfully displaced as one of the better jurisdictions to go to produce heavy oil.
So, Michelle, you heard from that oil analyst that there might be a potential impact in the medium to long term on the Canadian oil industry, but really Canada still stands out as a much more favorable market to do business. However, industry analysts say that this should give greater urgency to finding new markets for Canadian oil so we are not so dependent on sending it south of the border.
CTV's Scott Hurst live for us in the National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Nick Reiner, the son of director Rob Reiner, will be arraigned and enter a plea today after being charged with first-degree murder in the deaths of his parents. Reiner's been held without bail since his parents were found dead in their Los Angeles home 3 weeks ago. Reiner could face a more severe sentence if found guilty because of the multiple murders. Prosecutors have not yet decided if they'll be seeking the death penalty.
The board at Warner Brothers Discovery has unanimously rejected a hostile takeover bid by Paramount Skydance, saying the $108 billion offer amounts to a risky, leveraged buyout that investors should reject. The board says Paramount's financing plan would saddle the company with $87 billion in debt once the acquisition closed, making it the largest leveraged buyout in history. Both Paramount and Netflix have been pursuing deals to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery, with the board's decision meaning a deal with Netflix remains on track. Analysts say that despite the Netflix offer having a lower headline value, it presents a clearer financing structure and fewer risks than the Paramount bid. Well, the TTC is unveiling its spending plan for 2026.
Some new incentives for riders, but as always, the question is, where does the money come from? CTV's Natalie Johnson is following the meeting and joins us live with more. Natalie.
Hi, Nathan. This is the TTC's first budget under its new CEO, Mandeep Lally, who took on the top transit job last summer. It is, of course, also an election year, one in which the mayor has promised a more palatable tax hike. Despite that, though, the TTC is asking for an increase to its budget this year, looking for an additional $94 million from the city.
The TTC is asking Toronto City Council for nearly $1.5 billion this year, a 6.8% increase to fund its transit plan for 2026.
2026 is about tackling our long-standing challenges. We do this by focusing on affordability, improving reliability, and creating real transparency and accountability.
The shiny new spending plan includes a third consecutive fare freeze, boosted service levels, and a fare capping system that would take effect in September to ensure that frequent riders would not pay more than the cost of a monthly pass. But it all comes at a cost, a time when ridership still has not bounced back to pre-pandemic levels. That continued hit to the fare box, forcing the TTC to pull $35 million from its rainy day reserve fund and becoming increasingly reliant on city subsidies.
The TTC continues to experience a structural fiscal imbalance driven by rising costs, lower than expected fare revenue, and slower ridership growth.
The TTC is touting $87 million worth of savings found in this year's budget, but the financial future remains grim.
I don't think that the financial outlook of the TTC has never not been tight, so I don't think that's something new. I think what you're seeing, though, is that we're actually really focused. We're not saying, okay, well, we don't have the money, so we can't do anything. We're not taking that approach. We're actually dealing with a lot of the long-standing problems that we've been hearing about for years.
The TTC hopes boosted service levels will help restore ridership, bringing back funding to a transit service that is once again going cap in hand to council.
And again, the TTC's budget ask comes in the context of the much bigger city budget, which will be unveiled here tomorrow at the budget launch. At that point, we will see exactly what the staff suggested property tax increase is. The mayor has said that she doesn't want it to be quite as high as in years past. Last year, it was 6.9% residentially. The year before that, it was 9.5%, the largest tax hike since amalgamation. Reporting live at City Hall, I'm Natalie Johnson. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Natalie. Millions of Orthodox Christians around the world are celebrating Christmas today. In Georgia, people marched in a traditional charity procession every year on Christmas Day. Participants walk through the city collecting donations for orphaned children. The event concludes with prayers at a cathedral. The event dates back centuries when worshipers would collect donations for those in need. Processions were also held in other major cities across Georgia today.
Well, about 2 days from now, our temperature could be up around 10 degrees. It's not quite as mild today, but it is warmer than normal. Here's the forecast daytime highs across southern Ontario. 4 degrees for us here in Toronto. Normal temperature this time of year is -2. Now, your afternoon drive today should be much improved from yesterday. Unlike yesterday when we had the freezing rain, the rain and the snow, it should mainly be cloud cover for this afternoon with some calm winds. However, later tonight, we could see some fog mix in, and that could impact your morning commute tomorrow. We're going to take you through the weather forecast after the break. You're watching CTV News at noon. We'll be right back.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
New data is outlining how often Canadians use artificial intelligence in their daily activities. CTV's Renee Rogers has been taking a look at the data and joins us live with more. Renee, we know people use it a lot, myself included. Just how prevalent is the use of AI in our daily lives?
Hi, Nathan. Well, we're about 3 years into the so-called AI era, which really began with the release of ChatGPT by OpenAI in late 2022. And since then, Canadians have been increasingly turning to the technology to sort of step in and act as a substitute for everything from a teacher to a therapist to even a friend. And today we are getting a snapshot of just how often Canadians are turning to the technology. So Nanos Research did a survey recently, and it asked how often Canadians use AI like ChatGPT, Copilot, Grok, and Gemini. Techies would use the term large language models for these types of AI. And the survey found that 17% of respondents across Canada are using it every single day. That is about on par with Ontario's average, right around 17%. Now, of that 17%, 6% are using it several times a day. Now, it's also worth noting that 39% of Canadians say they never use AI. In Ontario, it's a little bit ahead, 33.5% saying they never use AI. But that does leave a majority who report at the very least some use, even if it's once a month or less. So really, it's a look, Nathan, at how much this technology has become incorporated into our everyday lives over the past 3 years.
For sure. So according to the survey, who is using AI the most?
Well, the survey looked at a couple of different demographics. First, age, and it might not surprise you to find out that the most prevalent daily use was in those under the age of 35, with about 8 in 10 using it every single day. Now, when you want to look at geography, location, the highest use was in Quebec at 8.8% of respondents saying they use it every day. The lowest use daily was out in the Atlantic provinces, where over half of respondents said that they never use AI, so much higher than the rest of Canada. Now, all that being said, there is no question that AI, the use of it, is growing right across Canada. And with that comes warnings from experts saying that Canada is lagging behind when it comes to policies surrounding AI. And they do warn that if Canada wants to be competitive on that digital global space, which is increasingly powered by AI, that the country needs to catch up. Now, I did have a chance to reach out to the office of Canada's AI Minister, Evan Solomon, to ask when we might see that updated new national strategy on AI that is supposed to be coming in 2026. His office tells me that we should be seeing more in the coming months when it comes to that new strategy.
All right, we'll have to wait and see. CTV's Renee Rogers in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, summer may be the furthest thing from many Torontonians' minds right now, but the city is making preparations for the return of a seasonal staple. Applications are now open for the 2026 Patio curb lane program. It allows restaurants and bars to expand their outdoor seating space by temporarily taking over a lane on the roadway. Other parts of the program permit patios on sidewalks and some private spaces. The initiative was first launched as a pandemic response tool in 2020. The city says around 1,500 establishments took advantage last year, and Patio curb lane applications are due by noon on February 11th.
Earl Bale Ski and Snowboard Center is now open for the season. Skiers and snowboarders can use the beginner and main hills, but the South Hill and Race Hill are set to open at a later date. Lessons will begin on Monday, January 19th. The facility is located at Bathurst and Shepherd. The season is set to last through March 22nd, if weather permits. That's one of the great things about winter. You can go skiing.
I think a lot of people forget that we have a ski hill here in the city, and we haven't gotten a lot of snow, but I have to say I think the conditions today are not ideal for skiing with all the slushiness.
Absolutely, and it was tough last night, but it seems like things are clearing up, Lindsay.
Yeah, it was pretty icy in many areas yesterday too, but improvements have happened. It's mild out there, so we've already got some melting, and there's more of that on the way as the temperature continues to hover above and well above seasonal for the next couple of days. But we're not in the clear either yet when it comes to active weather. Just might be a precip of a different kind. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. Taking a peek out the window right now, it's not too bad out there. We've got some cloud cover. Has been a little bit drizzly at times, but again, for the most part, the precip that impacted us yesterday, that is long gone. Here's a look at the satellite and radar. Not much to show you. Depending on where you're joining us from, you might enjoy some peaks of sun today, but overall we expect it to be a mostly cloudy one. There goes that low, now impacting portions of Atlantic Canada. Pretty quiet for us for the next couple of days here, but we do have a rainmaker on the way as we make our way into tomorrow night and through part of Friday. Here's the timing of it. So again, mostly cloudy skies, fog developing tonight, especially after midnight and into tomorrow morning. Here we see overnight into Friday morning, so some wet weather moving in. Temperature will certainly be mild enough for us to experience rain as opposed to snow. It will be with us through at least Friday morning, tapering off as we head into Friday afternoon. And then the weekend, we're going to keep an eye once again on the possibility of some showers or some flurries, with the temperature then starting to cool down again. It's not a lot of rain in the forecast, maybe 5 to 10 millimeters around the GTA. Some areas will see a little less than that, but it is of course worth pointing out. It's likely to make for a bit of a slushy mess in spots, especially where there is still a lot of snow. Hopefully some of those snow banks start to shrink in parts of Ontario. There has been a lot of snow, especially outside of the GTA so far this winter. Currently, it is 2 degrees. and that's what it feels like out there. 5 this hour in Windsor, -2 degrees in Ottawa, and -4 this hour in North Bay. Quite a bit colder once again in extreme northern Ontario. Tonight's low hovering just above the freezing mark, 1 degree. Average overnight low this time of year is -9. So it's not just the daytime temperatures, it's the nighttime ones that are well above seasonal. 5 degrees in most areas for tomorrow for the daytime high. How about 6 degrees in Burlington? And if you think this is mild, let's talk a little bit about Friday, where the temperature could climb to about 10. Overnight low close to freezing again, 0. And then we do cool down over the weekend. Should stay mild enough Saturday for us to experience some rain showers. But by Sunday, flurries return to the forecast, -1 for the high, and quite chilly Sunday night and overnight into Monday. That's your look at the weather for now. Nathan, I'll send it over to you.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. The Raptors will be going for a 3rd straight win when they take on the Charlotte Hornets tonight.
Here's Ingram spinning around, creating all net.
The team's coming off a 118-100 victory over the Atlanta Hawks on Monday. Tip-off for tonight's game against the Hornets is set for just after 7 in Charlotte.
The Maple Leafs faced off against the Florida Panthers last night.
Riley over the line. Drop pass for Waugh. Back across for Robertson. They score!
The Leafs took the lead late in the first period, and they would go on to beat the Panthers 4-1. The team is back on the ice tomorrow when they head to Philadelphia to take on the Flyers. And ahead of the game, Auston Matthews was honored for becoming the Leafs' all-time goals leader. He moved ahead of Matt Sundin with his 421st goal on Saturday against the New York Islanders. Sundin was on hand for the ceremony, presenting Matthews with a special plaque.
And the Scepters were looking to snap a 2-game losing skid when they faced off against the New York Sirens last night.
Lane Julie with a nice save. Oh, they score! Just like that, the New York Sirens.
The Sirens were able to hold the Scepters without a goal, going on to win it 2-0. Toronto will be back on the ice next Wednesday to take on the Boston Fleet. The country's top figure skaters have gathered in Gatineau this week to compete in the Canadian National Skating Championships.
It's all leading up to Sunday when Team Canada will announce which skaters will be competing at the Winter Games. CTV's Peter Sperling has more.
There's excitement on the ice in Gatineau.
And I'm so excited to compete here.
Figure skating champion Leah Cho looking forward to competing at the 2026 Canadian National Skating Championships.
My favorite part of competing is showing everyone how much I love this sport, and it's just performing and jumping.
The event taking place this year at the Slush Puppy Center.
This is the biggest event of the year for us. You know, this is a junior and senior competition. 300 athletes from across the country competing in singles, pairs, ice dance, and synchronized skating.
Now, if you want to get up close to the action, there are several events every day this week, with many looking forward to Sunday when we find out who will represent Team Canada at this year's Winter Olympics.
Nationals is always a big deal, but every 4 just gets a little more attention.
We just appreciate seeing the figure skating in person.
For Kathy White, who drove from Toronto, attending is a tradition.
We've been coming to the Canadian National Figure Skating Championships every year since 1992.
I'll tell you, there's some awesome signatures on this.
Tom Ray not here to add autographs to his flag, but cheer on skaters.
You know, if we run into some, that'd be great, but no, it's not really that I'm trying to get more signatures. I want to wave it for them.
Goals and excitement for fans and athletes.
I think I did very well. This was my best skate of the season, so very good timing on the national stage.
I really hope I could see myself competing in the Olympics one day, and also competing at Worlds and representing Canada.
Peter Sperling, CTV News.
Still to come, Novo Nordisk Canada is considering introducing lower-priced generic versions of Ozempic and Wegovy. We'll have those details when we come back. Novo Nordisk Canada is considering competing with generic versions of its Ozempic and Wegovy drugs by introducing lower-priced versions of the medications. Health Canada approved the company's submissions on December 22nd. Experts say the generic drugs are unlikely to be approved for at least a few months. The agency says evaluating the drugs is a complex process because Novo Nordisk's products were developed using biological processes, while the generic versions are made by chemical means. For many people returning to work following the holidays, it can be a daunting task.
CTV's Maria Saru has more on what experts describe as the time-off tax.
Office doors swing open and supply boxes are carried in. For some workers, this first week back on the job isn't exactly slow and steady.
It feels like there's a sprint when we return to work.
According to the newest numbers from ADP Canada's Happiness at Work Index, just under a third of employees took all their vacation time in 2025. And those who did take a week off reported spending nearly 17 extra hours on average prepping or catching up. Workplace experts call that a time-off tax, adding when employees are worried about the pileup, it's harder to really switch off.
You don't get the same kind of refresh, and you don't come back re-energized and ready to take on what comes at you in the new calendar year.
ADP Canada's Heather Haslam adds there's lots leaders can do to role model and encourage healthier habits.
Making sure that there's backup, making sure that there's adequate documentation for policies, doing some cross-training.
And for employees, the new year offers an opportunity to set better boundaries.
Our personalities have this guilt. Rest is a four-letter word, but we don't realize that being productive and engaged and doing better at our job requires it.
The strain can show up in worker sentiment. In December, the country's workforce happiness score was 6.8 out of 10, down slightly from November. Atlantic Canada came in just above that at 6.9, but fell more sharply from 7.5. As people filter in and out of office buildings like this one, workers across the Atlantic provinces report better work-life balance, but they can carry a heavier time-off tax. So the advice from experts this week is to ramp up rather than race. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
Still to come, Tim Hortons has signed its first ever partnership with the Canadian Olympic Committee. We'll have more on what the deal entails when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
A Canadian recruiting company has released a list of the top 15 most in-demand jobs for 2026.
It includes a wide range of positions from healthcare to sales to forklift operators. CTV's Matt Gilmore has the details.
A new year and fresh prospects for young Canadians looking to enter the workforce.
Well, they're actually frontline operational roles, a lot of them, and they're really focused on human connection and front-facing relationship building.
According to Randstad, the top 5 jobs companies will be looking to fill in 2026 are sales associate, administrative assistant, customer service representative, accounting technician, and receptionist. Nancy D'Onofrio says most of the jobs on the list are entry to mid-level, but with AI, they're evolving.
I think there's a lot of discussion as well that AI is replacing roles, but if you look at these roles that are very human focused and relationship based, they're actually elevating these roles.
Healthcare is another area where D'Onofrio says there will be job opportunities in 2026. Nurses, pharmacy technicians, and dental assistants are also in the top 15 most in-demand jobs.
We're obviously seeing a huge shortage in healthcare because there's a lot of retirements that are happening as well.
Perhaps most surprisingly, forklift operator has squeezed into the top 15 this year. D'Onofrio says that's due to the rise of e-commerce and demand on supply chains. Going forward, she expects even more opportunities in logistics and construction.
By 2027, there's going to be a shortage of 172,000 workers.
Most of the jobs on the list pay an average of between $50,000 and $70,000 per year. Economist Moshe Lander says that's a decent starting point for young Canadians, but still low compared to Canada's cost of living.
Is that going to get you an affordable cost of living? And most Canadians at 50 to 60,000 are going to say, no, it won't.
That's why he says it's important to look for jobs with opportunities for growth.
If it's merely something to pass the time between 9 and 5, Monday to Friday, it's going to be really hard to get those above inflation wages because your productivity is just going to stagger.
Food for thought for the many young Canadians preparing to enter the job market, nervous about their chances of getting ahead. Matt Gilmore, CTV News.
The company behind a popular online chat platform is reportedly considering going public. Bloomberg News reports Discord has made a confidential filing in the U.S. for an initial public offering. The platform has an estimated 200 million users per month, and it's particularly popular among video game enthusiasts and streamers. Bloomberg's report cited people familiar with the matter, saying deliberations are ongoing and the IPO listing may not go ahead. A spokesperson for Discord said the company's priorities are user experience and building a strong, sustainable business.
Tim Hortons has signed its first ever partnership with the Canadian Olympic Committee. The deal will last 8 years with a similar agreement with the Canadian Paralympic Committee set to last 3 years. The partnership means Canadian athletes, coaches, and their families will have Tim Hortons coffee available when they compete in Italy in February. There will also be Olympic-branded packaging for items. Each time Canada wins a gold medal, the company says members of its loyalty program will receive special offers. Bar patrons in Kitchener got to take in a full Symphony concert last night.
It's all part of an effort for the KW Symphony to form a closer connection with the community. CTV's Spencer Turcott has the details.
A sold-out show for the KW Symphony. But wait, this isn't where you're used to seeing them perform. Not a concert hall, nor a church, but this time, a bar.
We're here at Arabella Park for the first of 3 of our Symphony Series shows.
Good Company Productions has partnered with Arabella and the Symphony to put this series on, a way of breaking the shackles that historically tied the Symphony to center in the square.
So we've been working with KW Symphony since the bankruptcy and trying to find opportunities for them to connect with the community.
And the idea seems to have worked. Tickets sold out quickly for all 3 shows, which allow audiences to engage with the performers like never before.
We'll give you an idea of what each piece is before we get to it.
There's going to be no shushing. Going to be invited to make comments and to speak to the musicians too. Here, they have no backstage to hide.
It allows people to be more up close and personal with the musicians and break both that physical and psychological divide.
You'll almost be able to feel the warm air from the woodwind instruments coming right at you.
For the musicians themselves, it helps bring them out of their comfort zones too.
As a bassoonist, I sit at the back of the orchestra. The audience was still the audience in front of you, whereas here, they're 6 inches away from me.
Close enough to even read the sheet music.
Hopefully not too closely in case I miss any notes.
But this experience is something both audiences and musicians don't take for granted, considering it wasn't long ago that the symphony went silent.
I would very much have liked to add this to what we had rather than replace it, because going from, a 35-week season, it was a full-time job for most of us.
This resurrection season all about bringing the symphony back to its place in the community while popping up in new places. Spencer Turcott, CTV News.
Coming up, a homemade Zamboni's become a hit for hockey players on a frozen lake in Quebec. We'll have more on the man behind the machine when we come back.
Keeping a backyard rink in good shape can be tough throughout the winter, but one Quebec resident has found a solution.
He built his own Zamboni, and it's become a hit with local players. CTV's Dave Scarborough has the story.
And in 2010, I decided to start doing a skating rink on the lake.
For Chris Flynn, building a rink on Long Lake in Mayo, Quebec, northeast of Gatineau, has been a labor of love for more than a decade. But keeping the ice smooth wasn't always easy. Until now.
The last year, year or two, Stefan has helped me to take it to another level.
That next level came from his neighbor, Stefan Dehaye, and a machine he built by hand.
What we like about it, it's the same shape as a real Zamboni.
The project started with old equipment and a lot of problem solving.
I had an old lawnmower machine, and I stopped from there.
The homemade Zamboni uses hot water, just like the real thing, making a big difference. The result? Smooth, glistening ice.
We're able to use hot water, which cures and repairs the ice better than cold water.
The machine even rolls out between periods, turning a pickup game into something straight out of an arena.
So it's everyone's true dream. In between periods, this miniature Zamboni came and did the rink.
The video of that moment has now gone viral, but for Ze'e, the payoff is much simpler.
It's a lot of work to maintain the rink on the lake, but every time we got people using it, it's a reward for us.
A homemade Zamboni, a backyard rink, and a neighborhood project that shows just how far Canadians will go for the love of the game. Dave Charbonneau, CTV News.
Well, it looks great. Wouldn't you love to play there?
I want to go skating right now, honestly. And I'm sure people are skating right now in Nathan Phillips Square, but it is mild and it is slushy and ice is melting.
It's true. You know, anyone tending to a backyard rink this week is going to have to contend with some pretty mild temperatures. And yes, we had some unexpected ice rinks yesterday in places with that freezing rain. Here's one more look at the satellite and radar. All is calm today. Precipitation-wise, that's not the issue. It's the fact that the temperature is pretty mild. 4, again, is our forecast daytime high for today, remaining above freezing tonight at 1 degree. Compare that to the norm. -9 is our average overnight low this time of year. And then 5 degrees tomorrow. That's not even as mild as it gets. Friday is looking like a pretty balmy day for January, 10 degrees. And yes, we do have some rain in the forecast. It looks to begin Thursday night, continue until at least midday on Friday. Then it's going to taper off. We've got the chance of showers on Saturday and the possibility of flurries on Sunday as the temperature cools once again, and it'll look and feel a little more like January overnight and into Monday. Nathan and Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. And that is it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.